The evening sun was low in the sky, spreading a warm, golden color over the narrow street where the twin sisters walked side by side. They were carrying small paper bags filled with bread and a few vegetables, all bought carefully within the limited money their mother had given them. Both sisters moved with a quiet sense of responsibility, the kind that came from growing up early and understanding that life did not always give people what they wished for. Even though they were young, they had learned that every coin mattered, every choice mattered, and every moment had a lesson hidden inside it. Their home sat at the end of the lane, a small place with faded paint and a metal roof that made noise when the wind blew. They lived with their mother, a gentle woman who worked long hours at a tailoring shop. She never complained, but the girls often saw how tired she looked at night, how her fingers hurt from the needle, and how she sometimes paused quietly before standing up again to continue her work. They wished they could help her more. They wished they could carry her burdens the way she carried theirs. But for now, they helped in the only ways they could, running errands, doing chores, and trying to make sure they were never a source of worry. Most days followed the same routine. The sisters would come back from school, throw their bags in the corner, and rush to the small market to buy what their mother needed. They liked the walk, especially during evenings when the breeze felt soft and the sky changed colors. They would talk about school, about the children in their neighborhood, and about their dreams. Even though they knew dreams often waited longer than they should, that day, however, something unusual happened. As they walked back, they passed the old bus stop near the abandoned shop. The concrete bench there had cracks and was covered with little drawings made by children who liked to pass the time. One of the sisters slowed down, noticing something dark resting on the bench. At first, she thought it was a small notebook or maybe a packet someone had forgotten. But as she stepped closer, she realized it was a wallet. She picked it up carefully. It felt heavy, not like the thin cloth wallet their mother kept, which carried only a few notes at a time. This one was made of smooth leather, firm and clean, and it clearly belonged to someone who lived a very different life from theirs. The two shared a quick look, the kind that needed no words. They both understood the situation immediately. Someone had lost something valuable. It had fallen into their hands. They moved to the side of the road where fewer people passed. One of them held the wallet, while the other opened it slowly, making sure not to damage anything inside. They were not trying to pry into someone's life. They only wanted to see if there was any way to identify the owner. The first thing they noticed was the neat arrangement of cards. There were bank cards, a driver's license, and a black card with gold letters that looked more expensive than anything they had ever held. They were careful not to pull out more than necessary. The black card caught their attention the most. It had a name written in clear letters and listed a company they had heard about many times. It was the company with the tall glass building in the center of the city, the same company whose cars they often saw passing through the streets. People in their area talked about it sometimes, saying the owner was a very wealthy person, someone who had built his empire through years of hard work. The card felt heavy, not in weight, but in importance. The sisters looked at each other again. They knew instantly what they had to do. They could not keep this wallet. They could not pretend they had not seen it. Their mother had raised them with a simple belief: even if you have nothing, you can still choose honesty. That belief had stayed with them through every hardship. The decision was easy, but the situation felt big. Returning a wallet to a simple person was one thing. Returning something that belonged to a millionaire was something else entirely. They closed the wallet gently and tucked it into the bag of groceries. They continued walking home, but their minds kept returning to the moment they found it. They wondered what the owner was doing now. Was he searching for it? Was he worried? Did he know it had fallen somewhere? They imagined him being surrounded by assistants and workers, asking everyone to check his office, his car, his pockets. They felt a little anxious, hoping they could return it before the man faced too much trouble at home. Their mother looked up from her sewing machine when they entered. She smiled, the tired lines around her eyes softening for a moment. The sisters placed the groceries on the table, but their expressions were not as light as usual. Their mother noticed immediately. "What happened?" she asked, standing up. The girls showed her the wallet without saying a word. Their mother opened it slowly, her face changing as she saw what was inside. She recognized the name on the black card and frowned with surprise. "Where did you find this?" she asked at the bus stop. One of the sisters answered, "We couldn't leave it there. Someone else might take it." Their mother sat down thinking for a moment. She understood the weight of the situation. This was not an ordinary wallet. She looked at her daughters with a mix of pride and concern. "You did the right thing by picking it up," she said softly. "Now we have to return it."
Oh.
The girls nodded. They knew that part already, but they did not know how to reach someone so important. Their mother picked up the black card again, reading the company name carefully. She had never stepped inside a big office building. The idea felt intimidating, but she also knew that avoiding the problem would not help. The wallet had to reach its owner. "I will go with you tomorrow," she said. "We will take it to the address on this card." Sisters felt relieved. They trusted their mother more than anyone else. They knew she would guide them in the right way. But even then, the thought of facing a millionaire or his staff made them nervous. They imagined standing in a room full of polished floors and people wearing suits. They imagined being asked questions. They imagined being turned away. But still, they would go. That night, while their mother prepared dinner, the sisters sat on their small shared bed, talking in low voices. The wallet rested safely inside their school bag. They felt its presence the way one feels a secret, both heavy and powerful. They wondered what tomorrow would bring. Maybe the owner would simply thank them and take the wallet. Maybe someone else from the company would handle everything. Maybe nothing special would happen at all. But somewhere deep inside, both felt that life was giving them a moment that could shift their path. In a way they could not yet understand, morning arrived quietly. The sky was still pale when they left home, walking beside their mother with steady steps. They carried the wallet carefully, making sure it stayed safe. The journey to the city center took time. Buses came and went, people filled the seats, and the roads grew wider and cleaner as they neared the tall buildings. When they finally reached the office tower, the girls felt small. The building rose above them like a clear wall of glass reflecting the sky. People walked in and out with confidence, holding files or tapping on their phones. Their mother held their hands gently. Inside, the air was cool and smelled faintly of polished floors and expensive perfume. The sisters stayed close to their mother as they approached the front desk. The receptionist looked at them politely, but with a hint of curiosity, as if wondering what brought a simple family to such a place. Their mother explained the situation quietly, holding out the wallet. The receptionist raised her eyebrows, clearly surprised, and asked them to wait. She made a phone call, speaking quickly. The girls could not hear her words. They could tell it was about them. A few moments later, a staff member approached and asked them to follow him. They walked through a long hallway with glass doors on both sides. Their heartbeats quickened. They were not sure who they were about to meet. They did not know if the owner himself would appear or if an assistant would collect the wallet. But deep down, they hoped the owner would hear the full story. Not because they wanted praise or reward, but because they wanted him to know that kindness still existed in unexpected places. As they reached the final door, the staff member asked them to wait outside for a moment. The sisters stood quietly, their mother beside them. They did not know what to expect next, but one thing was certain. Returning this wallet was only the beginning of a story they never saw coming. The sisters stood quietly in the hallway, their hands close to their mothers as they waited outside the large office door. The building around them felt like another world. People in neat clothes walked with purpose, their shoes tapping softly against the shiny floor. Phones rang in distant rooms, printers hummed, and every sound seemed to echo. The twins had never been in such a place before, and everything felt too perfect, too clean, too big. Their mother gently touched their shoulders, as if to remind them that they were doing something right. She could feel their nervousness, and she shared some of it too. But she also felt proud. Her daughters had chosen honesty without thinking twice, and she believed good things often followed such choices. Even if those good things weren't visible right away, the door finally opened, and a man in simple office clothes stepped out. He had a kind face and spoke calmly, telling them that they could enter. He held the door for them, and the three walked inside slowly. The office they entered was large but not overly decorated. The walls were light, the the furniture modern, and there was a wide window showing the busy city below. At the far end of the room, a man stood near the window, his hands in his pockets. He turned when he heard them enter. The sisters recognized him immediately. They had seen his photo many times in newspapers and online news stories. He was the well-known owner of the company, someone people described as successful, strict, disciplined, and very private. He had a reputation for being a man who valued time above everything else and rarely gave personal attention to anyone outside his business circle. Yet at that moment, he walked toward them with quiet steps and a curious expression. The mother gave a small, respectful nod. The twins followed her lead. One of the girls stepped forward and held out the wallet with both hands, showing respect without even thinking about it. The man looked surprised as he reached for it. "You found this?" he asked, his voice steady, but softer than they expected. "Yes," the girl replied, her tone quiet. "It was at the old bus stop, near our street." The man opened the wallet, checked the cards inside, and then let out a long breath. It was the kind of breath someone releases when a heavy worry has suddenly lifted. He looked at the three again, this time with more attention, as if trying to understand who they were and why they were standing in his office. "Did you take anything from it?" he asked, not accusing them, but simply confirming. Both girls shook their heads quickly. "No, sir. We only looked at the name so we could return it." His eyes moved from the wallet to their mother. He noticed the wear on her clothes, the tiredness on her face, the signs of a life filled with responsibility. Then he looked at the twins again. Their small hands folded respectfully in front of them, their shoes slightly worn. Their expressions nervous but honest. He had met many people in his life, business partners, investors, employees, strangers at events, but rarely had he met someone who returned something valuable without asking for anything in return. Most people would expect a reward or at least hint at needing help. But these three stood quietly, not expecting anything. "What made you bring it here?" he asked gently. The mother glanced at her daughters, letting them answer. One of them took a small breath and spoke, "Because it wasn't ours, and someone would be worried." Her words were simple, but they struck something inside him. He remembered losing the wallet the previous evening. He had been distracted thinking of business meetings and deadlines. When he realized it was missing, he searched everywhere: his car, his office, his home, but couldn't find it. He thought maybe it had fallen somewhere on the road. Losing it was a serious matter, not just because of the money, but because of the cards linked to his business. He had barely slept, planning to cancel everything in the morning, yet here it was, safe, untouched, returned by two young girls who had nothing to gain from it. He walked behind his desk and placed the wallet down carefully. When he turned back to them, something in his expression had changed. He was calmer, almost thoughtful. "Thank you," he said. "You did something many people wouldn't have done." The girls lowered their eyes politely. They didn't know what to say. Their mother gave a humble smile. The man looked at them again. "Is there anything you need? Anything I can do for you?" He wasn't asking out of obligation. He truly wanted to know. He had been in the business world long enough to understand when a moment was genuine. These girls had shown honesty without expecting anything, and he felt some part of him respond to that sincerity. The twins exchanged a quick look. Their mother stiffened slightly, unsure how to answer. She didn't want to appear like she had brought her daughters for benefit. She didn't want their kindness to look like a way to get something. The man noticed her hesitation. "I'm not saying this because I think you came here for a reward," he said. "I am saying it because your daughters did the right thing when they had every reason not to." His words made the mother relax a little, but she still shook her head. "We didn't come for anything, sir. We only wanted to give it back." He nodded slowly. "I understand. But still, if you need help with something, small or big, you can tell me." The room felt quiet for a moment. The sisters looked at their mother, unsure if they should speak. Their mother hesitated, choosing her words carefully. "We don't need anything for ourselves," she said softly. "We only wanted to do the right thing." One of the twins touched her mother's hand, then looked up at the man. She spoke in a gentle voice. "There is something, but it's not for us." The man leaned slightly forward, curious. What is it? The girl took a moment to gather her courage. At school and in our neighborhood, many children don't have books or pencils. They share everything. Even the older children use worn-out notebooks. If you could help them, just a little, that would make them happy. Her voice cracked slightly at the end, not because she was shy, but because she meant every word. The man looked genuinely stunned. Of all the things he expected, money, food, a job, something financial for their own family, he never expected this. He had heard many requests in his life, but none as quiet and selfless as this one. You want school supplies for other children? He asked. Both twins nodded. Double quotes, we see them every day, one of them said. They try so hard, but they don't have much. The man pressed his lips together as if holding back a deeper emotion. He looked at the girls for a long moment. He saw honesty, innocence, and something rare in the world, concern for others. Even when they themselves had so little, their mother blinked back the emotion rising in her own eyes. She knew her daughters had big hearts. But hearing them speak like that made her chest feel warm. The man finally spoke again, slowly with meaning. I can help with that. But I would like you to guide me. Show me the children. Show me your neighborhood. Let me understand what they need. The girls didn't expect such a big response. Their eyes widened, and even their mother looked surprised. You don't have to come all the way, the mother said quietly. She didn't want to trouble him, but he shook his head. If I'm going to help, I want to see things myself. I want to understand why it matters to you. His voice was calm, but there was something sincere in it. Something that made the moment feel important. The mother nodded slowly. If you wish to come, you're welcome. He gave a small smile. Good. Then tomorrow afternoon I'll visit. You can give my driver the address. The room felt lighter suddenly. The girls glanced at each other with quiet excitement, not because they were meeting someone wealthy, but because the children in their community might finally get the things they had wished for. The man walked them to the door himself, something he rarely did for anyone. Before they left, he looked at the twins and said, You two reminded me today that goodness still exists. Thank you for that. They left the office building feeling a strange mix of relief, excitement, and disbelief. Outside, the busy streets looked different somehow, brighter than before. Their mother held their hands firmly, her heart full of quiet pride. On the bus ride home, the sisters kept talking in soft voices about what the man had said. They imagined him seeing their neighborhood, meeting the children, understanding the struggles. They wondered if the kids would be shy or excited. They wondered if this visit would change anything. Their mother listened silently, smiling to herself. She knew the world was unpredictable, and this moment might pass like many others. But she also knew that sincere actions often had surprising outcomes. As their house came into view at the end of the lane, the twins felt a gentle kind of hope rising inside them. They didn't know where this path would lead, not yet, but they knew tomorrow would be different. Someone important would walk into their simple world, not because they asked for money or favors, but because they chose honesty and kindness. And somewhere inside that tall glass building, the millionaire sat alone in his office, thinking about two young girls who had returned something more valuable than a lost wallet. They had returned a piece of faith he didn't even realize he had lost. The next day arrived with a soft morning light that slipped through the thin curtains of the sisters' small home. The air felt cool and quiet, but inside the house there was a sense of gentle excitement. The sisters woke up earlier than usual, their hearts beating with a mix of nervousness and hope. They sat on their bed for a moment, still in their nightclothes. Talking about the visit that was supposed to happen later in the afternoon, they could hardly believe that someone so important, someone who lived in a world so different from theirs, was actually going to come to their neighborhood. They wondered if he had ever walked through a place like theirs before. They wondered what he might think. They wondered if the visit would really lead to something that would help the other children. Their mother, already awake, was sweeping the floor when they emerged from their room. She paused when she saw them, giving a small smile. You two are up early today, she said. We couldn't sleep much, one of the girls admitted. Their mother didn't blame them. She, too, felt a strange mix of emotions. She wanted to make sure the house looked decent, even though she knew it was old and worn. She wanted to make a good impression, not because she wished for anything from the man who was coming, but because she felt the weight of his visit. It was not every day that someone like him entered their world after breakfast. The family spent the morning cleaning their home. They dusted the small wooden table, rearranged the chairs so the room looked tidy, washed the utensils, and even wiped the windows even though the glass was scratched and slightly foggy. Everything they did was simple, but it came from a place of respect. They wanted their home to reflect who they were: humble, honest people who cared. As time moved toward afternoon, the twins left home for a little while to play with the children in the neighborhood. They didn't tell anyone about the millionaire's visit. They didn't want to raise expectations or cause excitement. They simply watched the children as they played with their old toys, shared broken pencils, and joked about their school's cracked desks. The sisters felt even more determined now. They knew the man needed to see this. He needed to see what life looked like here, not through stories, but through his own eyes. Back at home, their mother checked the time again and again. She had never spoken to a wealthy businessman before. She worried she might say something wrong or appear nervous, but she reminded herself that all she needed was honesty. The same quality her daughters had shown. As the sun began its slow descent, a quiet stillness fell over their street. A few neighbors sat outside their homes, chatting casually, unaware of the visitor who would soon arrive. Dogs lay lazily under tree shade, and children continued to play even though the heat lingered. Then, a large car turned into the narrow lane. It wasn't loud or flashy, but it looked very different from the vehicles that usually passed by. The car moved slowly, carefully avoiding bumps on the road. A few neighbors turned to look, confused. Cars like that rarely came into this area. The sisters who were standing near their gate froze for a moment. Their mother stepped out from the house and wiped her hands on her clothes nervously. She wasn't used to such scenes. The car stopped right in front of their house. The door opened, and the millionaire stepped out. He was dressed simply, not in the formal suit he wore at the office yesterday, but in a clean shirt and comfortable shoes. He didn't want to look out of place. He didn't want anyone to feel intimidated. The twins and their mother greeted him politely. He smiled, a small but genuine expression. As he looked around, "This is a peaceful neighborhood," he said. Their mother nodded. "It is home for us." He glanced at the houses, the children, the narrow lanes. Everything was different from the polished world he lived in every day. He felt something shift inside him, an awareness that comfort and dignity didn't always depend on wealth. The twins invited him to walk with them. They wanted to show him the places they had spoken about. As they walked down the lane, children paused mid-play, staring curiously at the visitor. Adults, too, watched quietly from their doorways. "Wondering who he was?" one of the girls explained softly. "These are the children we told you about." He observed the children carefully, their worn-out shoes, their faded uniforms, the way they shared a single pencil among 3 kids. Some were doing homework on the ground because their houses were too crowded. A small boy approached the twins shyly, asking them to help him tie the string on his bag. The sisters did it with natural ease, smiling softly. The man watched them and felt a warmth he hadn't expected. Their kindness wasn't something they performed for others. It was simply who they were. He turned to the mother at one point. "They care about everyone here," he said. She nodded proudly. "They always have." The man asked the children a few gentle questions about school, about what they liked, about their dreams. Some said they wanted to be teachers, others wanted to be doctors or artists. Their answers were simple, but their eyes held a bright light. The man felt something stir in him, a feeling he had forgotten. He had worked so hard for so many years that he barely had time to look beyond the walls of his business. He rarely thought about childhood struggles or the importance of opportunity. But here, in this small neighborhood, he saw something pure. "Would you like to show me your school?" he asked. The twins exchanged a quick look, then nodded. They walked together, with a few children following out of curiosity. The school wasn't far. It stood at the end of a dusty path, its paint peeling, its roof rusted, its yard empty except for a few stray stones. The man walked through the gate slowly, taking in every detail. The classrooms were small. The windows had no glass, only metal bars. The wooden desks were old and uneven, but what surprised him most was the positivity in the children's voices. They didn't complain. They didn't appear embarrassed. They were simply used to what they had. The twins showed him their classroom. On one shelf sat a pile of torn books that students shared. The blackboard had cracks, and the chalk was always in short supply. "This is why we ask for school things," one of the girls said quietly. The man nodded slowly. He could feel the sincerity behind their request even more deeply now. Their words from the previous day echoed in his mind. Asterisk, not for ourselves, but for the other children, asterisk. He turned to the girls and asked gently, "If I helped, what would the children need most?" The twins listed things carefully: pencils, notebooks, school bags, colored pencils for the younger children, textbooks, and even some chairs for a few classrooms. "Would they like storybooks too?" he asked. Their faces brightened. Yes, they would love that. And maybe some sports things for their break time, he added. The children nearby perked up at the sound of that. One boy whispered excitedly about wanting a football, and another girl talked about skipping ropes. The man listened, genuinely happy to hear their enthusiasm. After spending some time at the school, he walked back with the family to their home. The sun was setting, casting a soft glow over the lane. Everything looked peaceful, but fragile, as if carrying both beauty and struggle. Before entering their home, he paused and looked at the twins. "You asked for something very small," he said, "but the meaning behind your request is very big. You didn't think of yourselves at all? You thought of the whole neighborhood? That is rare." The girls lowered their eyes shyly. Their mother felt tears gather, but blinked them back, not wanting to appear emotional. The man took a slow breath. "Tomorrow, I will send some things for the children. But I want you two to help me choose everything. I want you to guide me because you know what the children really need." Their faces glowed with excitement, but they stayed respectful. "We will help," one of them said quietly. He nodded and then looked at their mother. "Your daughters have reminded me that goodness is not lost in the world. You raised them well." Her mother swallowed hard, overwhelmed by his words. "They are good girls," she whispered. "I can see that," he replied. He stayed for a little longer, sitting inside their small house. They offered him a simple glass of water, which he accepted with respect. He asked them a few questions about their lives. Not personal questions, but gentle ones. He wanted to understand how they managed everything, how they stayed so positive despite their circumstances. The mother spoke softly about her work, about how she tried to teach her daughters to value kindness over wealth. The man listened carefully. He had met many wealthy people with cold hearts, but this family had warmth without having much at all when it was finally time for him to leave. He stood and thanked them for allowing him to visit. He promised to return soon, and the sincerity in his voice made the girls believe him. The car drove away slowly, disappearing from the narrow lane. But the feeling he left behind remained. The neighbors who had watched from afar approached the sisters and their mother, curious about the visitor. The family did not boast. They simply said he was someone who came to see the school and the children, but deep down, twins felt something powerful had begun. They didn't know how big the next step would be. They didn't know what tomorrow would bring. All they knew was that their small act of honesty had opened a door they never imagined. That night, the neighborhood felt a little more hopeful. The children whispered excitedly about the man they had seen. The sisters lay on their bed, staring at the ceiling. Unable to sleep, their mother watched them from the doorway with a loving smile. And far across the city, in a high apartment with wide windows, the millionaire sat on his couch, thinking about the little hands that returned his wallet and the humble request that had touched him more than wealth ever could. The morning light slowly filled the room as the sisters woke up, feeling a mixture of excitement and nervousness. The day ahead felt important, maybe even life-changing, though neither of them wanted to say it out loud. They had promised the millionaire they would meet him again, and although they did not fully understand what he wanted to discuss, they felt it would lead to something unexpected. The younger sister sat on the edge of her bed, her hands wrapped around a warm cup of tea. She kept staring at the steam rising from the cup as if it carried answers. "Do you think we're doing the right thing?" she finally asked in a quiet voice. Her twin, who usually carried more confidence, hesitated this time. She looked out the window before answering. "I don't know. But you saw the way he spoke yesterday. He wasn't trying to impress us. He wasn't treating us like he was above us. He just asked us to be honest. And we were. Maybe this is just a simple meeting. Nothing more." But they both knew it was not simple. People like him didn't spend time with ordinary girls like them without a reason. Yet, they hadn't noticed anything strange or disrespectful about him. Every word he spoke had been calm, thoughtful, and sincere. The younger sister took a slow breath, holding it for a moment before letting it out. "I just hope we're not putting our hopes in something that will break us later." Her twin walked over, placed her hand gently on her shoulder, and gave a soft smile. "Whatever comes, we face it together. We always have." They both got ready quietly, choosing simple clothes that reflected who they were: humble, kind-hearted, and raised to live with dignity. Neither of them tried to dress in a way that would impress him. They wanted to stay true to themselves. As they stepped out into the cool air, the sound of early morning birds filled the street. Life around them was ordinary shopkeepers lifting shutters, children in uniforms rushing to school, a man sweeping the sidewalk, but their hearts beat with a strange mixture of fear and hope. They reached the cafe where he had asked them to meet. The place was quiet. Soft music played in the background, and the morning sun shone through the windows. Lighting up the wooden tables, he was already there, seated near the window, reading something on his phone. When he looked up and saw them, a warm, almost relieved smile crossed his face. "I'm glad you came," he said, standing to greet them. They nodded politely and sat across from him. There were no bodyguards, no assistants, no signs of his wealthy lifestyle. Just him, alone, dressed neatly but simply. He folded his hands on the table. "I wanted to thank you again for returning my card. But more than that, I wanted to understand something. Why did you ask for your request instead of money?" Most people would have taken advantage of the situation. His voice was calm. With genuine curiosity, the older sister exchanged a glance with her twin, then answered, "We were raised to ask for help only when it truly matters. We didn't need money. We needed a chance. We needed someone to see us." He listened carefully, not interrupting, and they appreciated that. The younger sister added softly, "And we didn't want to feel like we owed you something we couldn't repay." He nodded slowly, as though their words touched something inside him. Then he leaned back. "What you asked for, it was honest. It was human. And you asked without fear or shame. That's rare." A waiter came to take their order, and they chose simple tea while he ordered nothing for himself. When the waiter left, he rested his arms on the table again. "I want to hear more about your plan," he said. "Not the short version. Tell me everything." Sisters exchanged looks, unsure of how much to share. But something about his tone made them trust him a little more. The older sister began. She told him about their mother's small sewing business, how it was struggling, how they hoped to expand it but lacked the resources. She spoke about their dream to open a small tailoring shop, where their mother wouldn't have to work through the night just to make ends meet. She described how people in their neighborhood always appreciated their mother's stitching, but without proper space and equipment, they could never reach more customers. He listened with full attention, not even glancing at his phone. His eyes stayed focused on them, encouraging them to continue. The younger sister then added details about their plan, how they had calculated costs, how they had already found a small room that could be rented, how they wanted to hire one more worker to help their mother. When they finished, he didn't speak right away. He took a moment to think. Then he said slowly, "You two have done more planning than some of the business owners I meet." He gave a faint smile. "Your idea is not impossible. In fact, it sounds promising." The older twin lowered her gaze. "But we don't have the starting amount. We didn't ask you for it because we didn't want to seem greedy. We only asked if you could help us meet someone who could guide us." He took a deep breath. "I can do more than guide you. But before I make any offer, I need to know something important. I hope you'll be honest with me." "What?" The sisters straightened, uncertain. He looked at them with calm seriousness. "Do you trust me?" he asked, The question felt heavier than his tone suggested. The younger sister blinked, unsure how to answer. The older sister leaned forward slightly. "We trust your intentions," she said finally. "But we don't want anything that will make us feel like we're stepping into a world we don't understand. We don't want to lose ourselves." A gentle expression crossed his face. "I would never want that for you." He lifted a small leather notebook from the table. "This has the contact of someone who can help you legally register your mother's business. It's no cost. He owes me a favor." He slid it carefully toward them. The older sister hesitated before taking it. "Why are you helping us so much? We're strangers to you." He looked at them, his expression turning distant for a moment, as if remembering something painful. "Not everything I do is about business. Some years ago, someone helped me when I had nothing. No one knew my name then. And after I became successful, I always felt that I still owed the world something. When I meet people like you, good, honest people, I'm reminded of who I was." Silence filled the table for a few seconds. The sisters both felt a sudden softness for him, not the kind born of admiration, but the kind that comes from understanding someone's loneliness. The younger sister spoke gently. "You don't owe us anything, but thank you." He nodded. "There's more. If you agree, I want to visit your mother's place tomorrow. I want to see where she works and understand her needs. Only then can I decide how much help is appropriate." The older sister felt her heart tighten. She imagined their small home, the tiny corner where their mother worked late hours, fabric piled up around her. It wasn't something she felt proud to show. "Our home is very simple," she said softly. "Simplicity doesn't bother me," he replied. "People's hearts matter more than their houses." They didn't know what to say. His words felt genuine. But they were still afraid of letting someone like him into their private world. After a long pause, the younger sister finally nodded. "You can come. Our mother will be nervous, but she will welcome you." He smiled gently. "Thank you. It means a lot." They all stood at the same time, the meeting coming to a natural end. He walked them out of the cafe and waited until they were ready to leave. Before they stepped away, he said in a low voice, "Whatever happens next, I want you to know that I'm not doing this as a favor. I'm doing it because I believe in you." The older sister felt tears prick her eyes, but she held them back. The younger sister looked down, overwhelmed. They thanked him softly and walked away, their hearts full, yet uncertain. The air felt different around them, as though the world had quietly shifted. During the walk home, neither sister spoke for a long time. The older one finally whispered, "Do you think our lives are about to change?" The younger one answered, "I think they already have." The sun had barely risen when the sisters woke up the next morning, but they were already wide awake. Their hearts felt light in a way they hadn't felt in years. The memory of the previous day stayed with them. The visit, the conversations, the promises, the emotions they had tried so hard to hide. Nothing about it felt real yet. But the hope in their hearts was stronger than their doubts. The older sister sat up slowly, rubbing her eyes. She took a deep breath, letting the cool morning air calm her thoughts. The younger sister was already sitting at the edge of the bed, lost in quiet reflection. "Are you thinking about everything he said?" the older sister asked. The younger twin nodded. "I can't stop thinking about it. He didn't just help us. He really saw us. It felt like he understood our struggles without us having to explain every detail." The older sister looked toward the curtain that swayed gently with the wind. "It's strange, isn't it? How someone can walk into your life for just a few days and change so much." The younger one lowered her gaze. "I don't want to get too used to this feeling. I'm scared it will all disappear." Her sister moved to sit beside her, placing a comforting hand on her back. "Whatever happens, we'll face it." But I believe he meant everything he said. Their mother called them from the other room, her voice filled with the same gentle warmth it always carried. The twins got up, washed their faces, and helped her prepare breakfast. Everything felt normal, but the silence between them held a quiet anticipation. After breakfast, their mother went to her sewing machine, carefully folding the pieces of fabric she had been working on. She paused for a moment, looking at her daughters. "Girls," she said softly, "I know something is happening. Something big. I don't know what it is yet, but I trust both of you. And I want you to know, I'm proud of you already, no matter what." Her voice shook slightly, and the twins felt their throats tighten. The older sister walked over and hugged her mother gently. "We're not doing anything wrong," she whispered. "We're just finally getting a chance." Their mother nodded, though her eyes glistened with emotion. As the morning went on, the sisters waited in a nervous silence. They weren't sure if he would come again, or if the previous day had been the end of everything. Maybe he had given enough. Maybe life would simply return to its usual rhythm, but around noon. A soft knock echoed through the house. The younger sister froze. The older one stepped forward slowly and opened the door. He stood there with a calm smile, carrying nothing but a small folder in his hand. No cars, no guards, no sign of wealth. Just him. "Good afternoon," he greeted them gently. The twins stepped aside, letting him in. Their mother immediately stood up, surprised but welcoming. He greeted her respectfully, and she offered him a seat. He sat down at the small wooden table, placing the folder in front of him. "I hope I'm not disturbing you," he said. "Not at all," their mother replied. Though her hands were slightly trembling, he looked at the twins with a thoughtful expression. "I wanted to talk to all three of you today. Yesterday, I saw everything I needed to see. Your honesty, your hard work, the way you support one another. It left a deep impression on me." The older sister sat down beside her mother. While the younger one quietly moved closer, he opened the folder, revealing a few papers. "I want to help you in a way that doesn't make you feel small," he began softly. "I don't want you to feel like I'm doing charity. I want this to be a partnership, something that respects your dignity." The mother lowered her gaze, overwhelmed. "You've already done so much. We don't know how to thank you." He raised his hand gently. "Please don't think like that. The world needs people like you people who stay honest even when life is unfair. And if I can support you in any way, it would be my honor." He slid one paper toward the mother. "This is the agreement to help you register your tailoring shop officially. You won't have to pay anything. I've taken care of the fees." The mother covered her mouth with her hand. Tears filled her eyes. He continued, sliding another paper forward. "This one is for renting a small shop space near the marketplace. I've already visited it this morning. It's clean, well-lit, and perfect for a small business. I've paid for the first year of rent, so you won't have to worry about it." The room went silent. The younger sister's eyes widened. The older sister felt her heart stop for a moment. Their mother shook her head slowly. "This is too much. I can't accept all this." He leaned forward slightly, his voice gentle but firm. "You are not taking anything you didn't earn. Your daughter's honesty brought us together. Their kindness convinced me. And your hard work, that is something I deeply respect." The mother wiped her tears but nodded slowly. "And there's more," he said in a low tone. Looking at the twins now, the sisters exchanged nervous glances. "I'm offering both of you full scholarships," he said. "Your school fees, books, uniforms, exam expenses, everything will be covered until you finish college. You will never have to drop out or pause your studies again." The younger sister gasped softly. The older one felt her eyes burn with emotion. "You believe in us that much?" The older sister whispered. "I do," he said. "Your dreams matter. Your future matters. And you deserve the chance to build a life without constant fear of losing everything." The mother began crying silently. The younger sister rushed to hug her. He waited patiently, allowing them time to process everything. After a long moment, the older sister wiped her face gently and looked at him. "Why us?" she asked, her voice trembling. He looked at her with calm sincerity. "Because you didn't ask for anything for yourselves. You asked me to help other children. That told me exactly who you are. And people like you deserve doors to open. Not because you're lucky, but because you've earned it." The younger sister held her mother's hand tightly, tears slipping quietly down her cheeks. Their mother finally found her voice. "I don't know how to repay you." He smiled, kindness filling his eyes. "You don't need to repay me. Just promise me one thing." They listened carefully. "When life gets better for you and it will help someone else the way you were helped, that's all I ask." The older sister nodded. We promise. The younger twin echoed softly, "We promise." The mother placed her hand over both their hands, sealing the promise with her warmth. He stood up slowly. "Then that's enough for me." He walked toward the door, pausing for a moment before leaving. "You three have changed my life more than you know," he said quietly. "Thank you for letting me be a part of your story." The sisters walked him outside, watching as he left without expecting anything, without showing off his wealth, without asking for recognition as he disappeared down the road. The younger sister whispered, "Do you feel it?" The older one nodded. "Yes, everything. Everything is different now." They went back inside, their hearts full, their future brighter than ever. In the weeks that followed, their mother opened her new shop. Customers came from all around, impressed by her craftsmanship. The business grew naturally, honestly, beautifully. The sisters returned to school with renewed hope, their worries replaced with determination and work. Every time they walked past the old bench near the bus stop, the place where they found the lost card, they whispered, a small prayer of gratitude. Not for money, not for luck, but for the simple truths that kindness, honesty, and humility can open doors that seemed forever locked. Their story didn't end with a millionaire's help. It began with it.